Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow!
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. We are live from Half Coast Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you to Half Coast for this amazing setup and for sponsoring the show. If you are looking to start your podcast or take your current one to the next level, then you need to come check these guys out. Contact them today for a free consultation. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me. In this way, we can get this incredible content out to more people. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by another member of the Apex community. We've had quite a few of those guests on, and every episode is full of golden nuggets. He is one of the first people I met when first attending my Apex event when I had just joined back in October of 2020. This guy is one of the hardest workers I know, and he's always out there supporting his network, and it has really paid off for him. Since meeting him, he's had some tremendous growth and is now a member of the Apex Executives community, as well as the Forbes Business Council, and he's written multiple books. My guest today is James Goalden. James is the CEO and founder of Pavement Management Group. PMG is a professional services firm specializing in turnkey pavement management programs in cities, counties, villages, and townships throughout the United States. James, welcome to the show.
Oh, Adam, what's up, man? This is exciting. I'm pumped to be on the podcast. I've obviously been following your journey as well, man. Exciting stuff. Look how professional this man is, folks. Like, he's crushing it right now. Just take out this stack of books right here. I'm fortunate to say I've read about half of those at least, if not 3/4 of them, man. So excited to be here. Add value to your audience, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. No, I've definitely, it was funny. I was thinking back, I was like, man, remember we went to that baseball game, and that was the first sporting event that was, I think it was literally the first sporting event after COVID that allowed fans to go back in the game. And that was my first Apex event. And at the time, I think there was only like 15 of us in the room. And it's just insane to see how the entire community's grown, how we've all grown and things like that. So really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Dude, and the other thing, if I remember correctly, I was on 75 hard during that damn baseball game. So, like a bunch of high performers trying to cut loose. We were not only a baseball game, we were at a division championship or something like that out there in Texas, man. And I remember some guys crushing beers, and I'm like, shit, man, I'm on my third water, and, maybe suck down a couple peanuts, but anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was. Yeah, that was one of the moments where I had kind of heard about 75 hard, but then I ended up doing 75 hard a couple months later because there was you, Patrick, and a couple other people doing 75 hard, and I was one of those people crushing beers. So you definitely were one of the people that had helped motivate me get into that mindset. But we want to kind of get the show kicked off by letting people know kind of where you're at right now, and then we'll dig into the entrepreneur process, talk about some things that we talk about with each of our guests. So give us a little bit of backstory on kind of where you're at right now with the Pavement Management Group and anything else you got going on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So Pavement Management Group started out as a consulting firm, and I'll get into the story, whatever, how we brew this podcast here together. But kind of where we're at right now is I started this consulting journey about 22 years ago, really burned the boats, as we do in entrepreneurship sometimes back in 2017. So just a short 5 years ago, I reinvented the wheel on what I'm trying to do, what I think the market needed, a lot of feedback from my clients in terms of data collection, things along those lines. So the bottom line is, where are we at today? It boils down to this, man. Unless you're under a rock, we've all heard that there's $1 trillion infrastructure bill out there by the good old federal government, right? And what we know about that is about $500 billion is slated towards roadway repairs and things like that. And the bottom line is, we've gotten to this problem in America of poor roadways because of lack of funding is absolutely part of that. The second part of that is no preventive or preservation measures in place, and just kind of putting stuff out there and praying to God it's going to take care of itself and last, right? Certainly not a recipe of how we take care of our businesses, how we take care of our homes, our vehicles, right? But that's kind of where America has kind of gone to. So this pavement management thing that I've been working on for the last several years has really come into fruition. We've got technology behind us. I've got my graphic up here and maybe up here backwards, as we discovered, to those watching this thing. But the bottom line is we created some pretty cool technology out of that COVID situation. So prior to that, most of the consulting firms out there, like myself, are out there driving roadways, getting out and out of cars, doing windshield surveys to understand what's happening. And I said, you know what? If I can hook up a GoPro and watch the roadway network in high definition content, 4K format, if I, as an expert, can see all the shit that's happening out there, for lack of a better way of saying this, I should be able to train a computer model, right? So we did that. We started that in the 2020 year. We just launched, kind of burned the boats again in a little bit of a ways, kind of pivoted the company here in 2022. And now we have some pretty cool technology in a software as a service deliverable to our clients. At the end of the day, it's data-driven decisions today, better roadways tomorrow. Our data helps pavement managers maximize our taxpayer dollars, general fund dollars, and build better roadway networks.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know that when we had first connected and I heard your story about the data and the technology, I had honestly just assumed that that stuff was already out there and that people were already using it. And then when you were talking about like, no, it's basically just been off the cuff. I'm like, man, you guys are literally changing the game, utilizing such key pieces that do have such a massive impact on the country, on cities and roadways. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, man. Up until now, what was happening, there was technology out there, but you had to invest in the vehicle. So you would basically drop $250,000 to $500,000 in equipment on a vehicle with a wide variety of different scanners and sensors and things like that for geolocation, right? And now, if you think about it from a business model, I'm kind of tied to wherever that vehicle can go, how fast it can get there, a lot of investment if I want to, kind of scale the company to national, if not worldwide, right? So we just kind of flipped that model on its head and said, no, what if we just captured the video, which is geolocated? It's already got the sensors in there. We've already can identify a lot of things through that. We'll just build the tech on the back end to go process it all on the back end. So that's the current business model, man. And we're looking to take that not just to the government locations, but now offer that as a business model, business to business model to other firms out there that are kind of playing in this space. They want to streamline their costs and still provide a high level standardized solution to their marketplace.
Man, that's revolutionary and very impressive at the rate that you guys are growing and the rate that you guys are shifting, because I know obviously this is an ever-changing environment. So that's really cool to see and can see this evolve in real time. One of the key aspects that we like to talk about. So obviously we kind of know where you're at here at the Pavement Management Group, but obviously it's taken some time to get to where you're at today. So walk us through the history, just like the history of a beer, where you came from, how you got to where you're at today, all those good things.
Yeah, I love it, man. So you're right. We're all overnight success stories, aren't we, Adam?
Always.
So my journey started at the age of 19, so I just had a kid at 19. I was working as an intern at Ohio Department of Transportation doing grunt work, man. So my degree, my 2-year degree was in drafting design technology. So I was that guy out there drawing up parking rides and parking lots for ODOT and things like that. And I got an opportunity from a friend of the family, you see like my hashtag Goalden, I got this whole initiative on that. You mentioned like golden nuggets. That's one of my things too. I love this stuff. It's like, there's so many golden opportunities that exist. It's not just a catch line or a phrase, but people have to be open to receiving those. I say when opportunity knocks, so many people just aren't listening, unfortunately. I've always been listening, to a fault probably. The point is I had someone kind of reach out to me at the age of 19, said, hey man, a friend of mine is doing this consulting stuff with pavement management. He needs some help for the summer. I know you're an intern over here. I don't know if it's a good fit, but why don't you connect with him and see what he has going on? So I did. So met him at Tim Hortons. He was a civil engineer with a great sales background, a great business background, a background obviously in engineering, but more importantly in the construction of roadways and all the different types of things that can be done through roadways. So I said, yeah, man, tell me what I would do, for that $10 an hour, So this was way back in 1999, man, The bottom line is I was going to basically just get in and out of a car at specific test sites throughout a roadway and walk the pavement and look for all these different types of distresses that are out there, So the average consumer, or driver out there, we drive roads, right? Potholes, look at that crack, The reality is there's multiple different types of cracks that occur, and they happen for different reasons, So we're out there trying to identify, quantify, and get to a result. So that's when it started, man, literally boots on the ground. That's what we called it. In and out of that damn car hundreds of times a day, out of town a lot. So my family took a toll, through that whole process. But that was the inception of pavement management. Writing everything down, pen and paper, getting back to an office environment, and then typing data entry. Data entry was huge, right? Typing it all into a system and then letting the system with its tools produce a result. And then every step of the way, I've always been entrepreneurial, number one, but I've always been interested in just technology and capability and things like that. So I started taking a look at like geographic information systems. That's GIS. It's basically taking data and sticking it on a map. There's GIS all around us. We're just not really privy to it as consumers. Just think of like realtor.com. You go to realtor.com, you like draw an area on the map and it shows you what's available. That's GIS working in the background, man. So like, well, how do I apply this and put these conditions on a map so we can visually see what's happening? So kind of started doing some of those things. Ultimately working with that man about 13 years, he was an amazing mentor, someone he was already in his mid 50s when I came on board with him. So he taught me a lot just about roadway construction, how roads deteriorate, different climates, all this stuff. On the same side, he taught me some things about sales and operations and things like that. So I ultimately worked up to become the director of operations, took a company from nothing to about 10 employees, nothing crazy, still a small business, a couple $1 million in revenue, nothing crazy, but for a boutique consulting firm, not bad. And then in 2011, I got the opportunity to start my own company. There's an hour-long story behind that, but I wrote some of the stuff in my books. But the bottom line was this guy was ready to kind of move on, and it presented an opportunity for me. It was a crossroads, right? You think of like Monster.com back in the day. That was like your work bulletin board of what jobs are available. And I remember like getting the news from this guy that he was going to be moving on. I'm like, well, shit, dude, I'm not sure how I'm going to go find pavement management specialist on the Monster.com job board or in the dispatch, newspaper ads, none of that. So I said, hey, it's game time, man. It's time to start my own company. So I did that in 2011, initially under the same concept of boots on the ground, but bringing on those other technologies a little bit more and getting more personal with the client, doing more consulting. And just supporting that client every step of the way. And then it finally grew from imagery, into the videos and stuff like that. And now it's pretty cool, man. We're not 100% automated, you know what I mean? But we're getting there. We see a lot of different technologies going that route. Hell, we're going to have autonomous cars at some point. So the autonomous car should provide an automated condition assessment at the same time, So I'm just trying to play chess, man. Think ahead. So that's kind of like the evolution of this stuff for me over about what would I say, 23, 24 years at this point.
Yeah. And I love what you just said at the very end is I'm playing chess. And I think so often as entrepreneurs, we'll talk about overnight success, lack thereof here in a little bit. But, I get frustrated. People my age get frustrated and even younger, even if they're older, if they've only been doing this for a couple of years and like, man, I just can't crack the code. You went and were a mentee for, what was it? 11, 12 years. And then you've been doing your own thing now for 11, 12 years. These types of things, when you want to be an authority and a specialist, yes, you can condense time by being in groups like this, but there's nothing that you can do other than actually putting in the work, regardless of how long it is. And I think too often people just want to do the easy thing. They want to do the quick thing. They want to cut corners and things like that.
So true. And I'm guilty as charged, until I really came into the Apex community and understood that there were networks of high performers out there, fuck it. I thought I was just a crazy guy for so many years. Like I'm some crazy idiot out here pounding the pavement literally and figuratively, every day trying to make something happen. wasn't really focused on dollars and cents, and to a fault to some point where, I didn't understand cash flow as an early business owner. I didn't have the mentor side of the business of all that, right? I had to figure it out. But I went through, you go through seasons. You go through seasons until you get with the right mindset. You've got some amazing books on here. A few of those helped me, kind of get to where I am today. You know what I mean? Connecting with guys like you, where we sit in the room and say, what the fuck do you do, man? Holy shit, that's pretty cool, man. Can you help out Google my business? Because it opens up your mind. Yeah. But there were definitely years, Adam, where I tell you, and I bet some people fall victim to this. It's like, no, I'm the guy. I know how to do everything. And it's once you start understanding how to delegate tasks, how to go ask for advice, ask for help. Mentors are great, but guess what? Your mentor only knows what your mentor knows. Mm-hmm. So you have to get in those right rooms and understand that you're not the guy. It's okay to be the little fish in the big pond, So that's what it's been about all these years, and it wasn't until like 2016 coming into 2017 where I got serious about this shit and said, no, I'm going to go make a difference. I'm going to make an impact, and it might take me 10 more years, but I'm going to get there. And now we're in year 5 of that, and everything's coming together, but it's because of all of that time, effort, energy, dollars, cents spent.
Oh, it's amazing. And I think that's a great segue into our next aspect where we talk about the ingredients within a beer. Obviously, great beers are made from great ingredients. If you had to pinpoint 3 things throughout your journey that have made you successful, what would those 3 things be?
I'll say the Irish, the gates of St. James, and that 1,000-year lease that man locked in on that river, man. I mean, there's your ingredients. One of my favorite beers is Guinness. I had to throw that in there. So, So I was prepared for this, man. I try to prepare to bring value here. I'll bring that up in my slogan, my tagline, what drives me, because it's 3 things. It's dream big, work hard, become legendary. So the first part of that is like, you've got to think outside the box. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're really going to go take your industry to the next level, you're probably not going to do it doing the same shit everyone else is doing. Let's just be honest. Now, if you and I are multi-billionaires, we could probably go take something existing, right? Because you have a great burn rate there. Most of us don't have that type of cash, moving into day one. You're starting bootstrap from the ground, grassroots, all that stuff, right? So dream big, man. Think, and I shit you not, I actually did this. I spent so much time on the road that on one of my trips back in probably 2015, 2016 area, I just locked myself in a hotel room and I said, figure it out. I just said, figure it out. What is going to be next? I don't want to go drop all this money just to go compete with scanning vehicles like everybody else, So what that led me to, and I had several beers in my room that day too. What that led me to was go buy a GoPro and capture videos, man, and go see what, if you can even see what's happening out there on the road just through a video. So dream big, man. Think about where you're at. What could be a disruptor in your marketplace, and then work hard. That's the second part of it, man. I mean, I would elaborate that on a little bit more and say work hard and smart. We were taught, at least my generation coming up, man, our parents want us to go to college and work smarter, not harder. And it was hard to, see some of my friends out there in college while I'm raising kids and on the road, and they're doing their party scene and hanging out and doing all the fun stuff. That's my perception at 19, 20 years old. I was working my ass off, man. And I mean, working hard, if anything, just a little bit of hard work up front and dedicating yourself to that will show you the path and the way, but you got to do it over and over again. Don't you? It's a grind, but that's early on in a career, man. You get to these types of stages, you're not grinding anymore. Or in other words, the grind is different because your focus starts on maybe number 3, become legendary, right? Be the best that you can be in your space, man. Own it. Like, that's absolutely borrowed from Michael Jordan, guys. Like, and Adam knows I love my Jordans.
Yes, you do.
Like, Michael Jordan was a role model in my life in a lot of ways. And that tagline, become legendary, always stuck with me, because if you go follow Michael Jordan's story, I mean, the guy got cut from high school. We all know this stuff, right? So think about, it's that, and winning is right there on your, from his trainer, Tim Grover, right? You go through these stories and you understand how people become great. And we all have the ability to do that. we don't have to be superstars or athletes to become great in our niche. So those are my 3 ingredients right there, man.
That's a solid lineup right there. Definitely appreciate you preparing that. That was good. I know the audience is going to definitely resonate with that, just from the standpoint of, obviously we all have that extra gear that a lot of us aren't utilizing at times. We go through seasons where some of us are pushing those buttons and other times where we're not. And, obviously Michael Jordan specifically is a great resource and a great thing to look back on to be like, hey, if you want to be at the top of your game, understand where he started and what he had to go through every step of the way to get to what he obviously accomplished, which is, again, kind of another great segue into our brewing process aspect of this. So great beer doesn't happen overnight. Talk to us about some of the ups and downs throughout your entrepreneurial journey thus far.
Yeah, the ups and downs, and that's what they are. It's a little cliched, but it's a roller coaster. You have highs and lows in the entrepreneurship world, and that's what you sign up for. You risk and roller coasters. So anyone like me, I get sick on roller coasters, man, and it's no different in business. It's can you kind of weather the storm component? It takes a whole different type of mentality to be down, be sick, but realize that there really is no other way. You've just got to keep going. So some ups and downs, man. I'll give you a couple. So one that I can really pinpoint on early on in my career, when I started my company in 2011, I was very fortunate early 2012 to pick up a huge client. So this client, it's a large city, and it ended up being about 70% of my revenue that year. Okay. Hell, I didn't care. This was a multi-6-figure freaking job for James over here. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. Right. I'm going to make more money than I've ever made in my life. Right. And that was a 6-year contract. So in my mind, I'm like, I did it, man. I just locked up this. I mean, it was a lot of hard work to get it, by the way. But let me tell you what happened. So what happened was I put all my time, energy, and effort into that one client. Okay. I had several other smaller clients that were manageable, So my thought process was, I did it, man. I only need to get a couple more of these types of things. So here's what happened. Year one was amazing. I started hiring a couple people, train them how to do the in and out of the car, boots on the ground stuff. That's what I was doing day one. And I hired friends. So there's some ups and downs right there, because James had the work ethic. I was out there doing the work every day. I was training to the best of what I thought my ability was. Dude, they just wanted to be out of town, away from their wives and shit, and come hang out with me and drink beers and go do what we do after work. Right. So my numbers were always here, and theirs were just, this type of a thing. So there's that part of it. You come into year two, had another good year, picked up a couple other smaller jobs, but still the focus was on this large city, because this was a 6-year contract. We get to the end of that project. I get a phone call at 5 p.m. from the city engineer, and he says, James, I hope you're sitting down. I said, well, man, it's Friday, 5 o'clock. I'm ready to go do something, but no, obviously you have some bad news. So just drop it on me, man. What's going on? And he said, hey, city's going to be going in a different direction. The city's going in a new direction in 17 different disciplines, and pavement management is one of those. So because your firm is not located in this small business enterprise location near us, you're not going to qualify moving forward. They're going to put that tagline on you. So unfortunately, you're out. So all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm about to lose a few $100,000, and I didn't have a backup plan, man. So my point to you is this: I put all my eggs in one basket, didn't I? So what I learned from that, so there's the down. Now I got to go. I had to fire 2 people because I can't afford the payroll off the other small jobs. 70% of my revenue is going to be taken away from me. And in government contracting world, now I've figured this out, by the way, over the last 10 years, but it was 18-month buying cycles. You can't just call somebody and be like, hey man, you want some payment management services this year? It's going to cost you about $126,000. And they might say, sure, James, I didn't budget for that damn thing. I mean, we got to go through council, probably put an RFP together, RFQ. I mean, maybe here in 2-3 years, we might be able to get that through, right? So the bottom line is I can't just go reprint that money in a short amount of time. But I damn sure tried, Adam. I fucking hustled my balls off, man, to try to recoup as much as I could of that. But my point is I put all my eggs in one basket. So I learned to kind of diversify my clientele. So there comes the upside, which was I started grouping my clients by size in terms of buckets. Because if I lose one big giant client, look at that impact. If I lose one small client, not that much of an impact. I can probably pick another one up. You get the idea where it's going. So there's one right there. Another one was cash flow. You know, in the government contracting world, we're on net 30 to 60 terms. So what that means is Adam's going to give me a contract for 50K. Awesome. It's going to take me 6 months to fulfill back then. Now I got that down to about 90 days, you know. Adam's going to give me 50K and he's going to say, great, James, it's a lump sum. So when the job's done, let me know, give me the invoice, show me the deliverable, and I'll pay you in 30 to 60 days. So you just do the math on that, man. I was fronting everything for months and months and months. So when I ran out of money a couple of times and had to go borrow from a parent early on, from a bank at high interest rates, you know, just to keep myself afloat, I had to learn how to manage cash flow as a young business owner. So I did what everybody else did. I Googled it, man, you know, and I put together this badass spreadsheet that I actually still use to this day. It's a little different, you know, I manage my cash flow weekly, not monthly. It works out very well here. I've got a system behind it. It runs like clockwork, man. I can tell you within 1% where we're at every week, which is pretty cool, despite all this stuff. But I had to solve all these little problems that I didn't know about. You know, I had to create deliverable stages so that I could invoice the client and get timely revenue coming in every month. You know, so just some of those things. I also thought, you know, maybe to kind of end this segment with you, I also kind of thought I could do it all. You know, I really did. I'm like, man, you know what? Like, no one's going to be able to do this like me. So I can maybe hire the lower level tasks, but I'm going to have to be the guy, man. No one else understands how to run a 5-year plan. No one else has, you know, I had that moniker on me for so many years. You know, I've stripped that all away, obviously, but what that caused me to do is grow at a slow rate. You know, I kind of gave myself a ceiling and I gave myself a really cool job, high paying job. Then all of a sudden there was all this stress that came with it. And then at one point it all came crashing down. And I just wanted to quit. I wanted to quit. There was multiple times. So full circle, man, this is probably around 2014, 15. I just wanted to be done with this shit. I didn't want to do this anymore. I was done, burnt out. And I'm like, I'll just go sell my business. Until I started looking up exit strategy and succession planning and valuations and realized my business wasn't worth shit. It wasn't worth anything. No one's going to buy this damn thing anyway. So it actually kind of kicked my ass in gear a little bit. You kind of see where the trajectory went a couple years later, put me on this track to here. And now we have all that stuff in place, right? So there you go, man. There's some ups and downs, you know?
That's that was a lot of good information. I like how you tied all of the downs with also the upsides of the situations that you got in there. I think oftentimes people are like, well, I have all these ups, but I have all these downs. And if you're not taking lessons from both the ups and the downs and tying it all together, I think you're just not getting the most out of the situation, out of the experience, out of the work that you've put in. Then obviously you touched on some things like cash flow, actually the value of your business, having not just another job for yourself, but also a business. Very valuable things that I know our audience is definitely going to get some insights from. So definitely appreciate that. The next and fourth step that we talk about is the fermentation and conditioning. So when we like to translate this to the entrepreneur process, we want to know what is the biggest lesson that you have learned that you would share with someone that's an entrepreneur looking to save them years worth of mistakes.
So I would say, kind of piggybacking off of kind of how I wrap that up, like delegation, obviously, but take that a step further, man. I would say hire for where you want to be or where you're going versus where you are. I'm not embarrassed to say this because this is just my journey, dude. I ain't embarrassed about anything, but it kind of sucks that it took me this long. This concept became relevant to me probably a couple of years ago, but still sometimes we fight things, don't we? It took me a minute to get there, but I fucking got there, my man. So I hired my COO 3 weeks ago, basically. And that was a big ass check, man, that I'm writing every 2 weeks, you know? But wow, I mean, I know for anyone listening to this shit, just listen to what I'm saying. You know, there's other people that are saying this too, right? I'm not the guy that came up with this, okay? Hire for where you want to be or where you're going versus where you're at, because that is how you're going to get there. It's not going to hurt. Maybe you got to take a couple of $1 a pay cut or something, or whatever your objection is. Just get over it, because this woman's come into my company, Adam, and in 3 weeks, I had no idea this was capable, you know, or this could be, you know, capable. She's on an amazing fast track for us all. You know, we've got 30, 60, 90-day initiatives, and I have no doubt that by the end of this year, she's going to take on all of my operating roles, and I will go 100% full-time into business development and actually be the CEO, not just some freaking title on a freaking podcast intro, right? You know, it's like, I'll actually be able to become the CEO and help further grow this entire initiative that we're doing, because I know the company she's the right person. Traction's in your list of books right there. We're going to be starting the traction process with our company now that I've got her in here. We've got some good leadership in here. She was that missing piece, you know, and there was a part of me going back a couple of years where I kind of knew this. I'm like, man, I'm giving up a lot to get there, right? And I think the challenge is I just didn't really realize what those capabilities were really going to do for me. So that's it for me, man. Hire where you want to be or where you're going, not kind of where you're at. You know, we all get stuck in cash flow land, and here's where we're at today. And you go set your goal, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But think, like, again, play chess. Go back to a 5-year plan and see what that looks like.
No, that's amazingly powerful. I've had multiple conversations just this week already, and it's freaking Tuesday, with people that we're having those exact same conversations, because we're hiring. I just announced yesterday we're hiring for 2 roles that are kind of putting me a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But if I don't do that right now, 6 months from now, I will be in the same position that we're in today. And you have to think long term. You have to operate. If you're $1 million company, you have to operate like the $10 million company you want to be. You have to start putting those pieces into place. So I'm really glad that you touched on that, because I know that there's going to be people listening to this episode that I've told this exact same thing to, and I'm glad it's coming from someone else. So
that's good to hear, man. That's great. You know, hey, we all get there. You know, well, actually, that's not true. So many don't get there. They're limiting themselves on what they're really capable of. You know, so like, you want to go be great, be legendary. That's next level thinking. It's always evolving and growing, and you're spot on, man. You got to get the right people in the right seat. Absolutely. But you got to be looking at that. If you're operating on $1 million, you got to be looking at 10, not 2, because one of my hot buttons in business land is how many times do we all hear this? Like, oh, I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow and scale. I'm going to grow and scale. I'm going to scale. And I'm like, well, dude, no disrespect, my man. Like, you made $200,000 last year. You got a little bit of a lawn care business. That's awesome. How are you going to scale it? I'm going to add 2 mowers. I'm like, okay, well, you're not scaling it, man. Like, you're growing. So like, just be cool with saying you're growing the company. Scaling the company is buying 12 fucking robots on a GPS map, and you just sit there and control them. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's like a hot button for me. And because I take that shit seriously. Like, my company is in growth mode with a scale plan. You know, like, just because you doubled your sales next year doesn't mean that you scaled your company by that type of a definition if your profit margin was the exact same.
Yeah.
Or worse, by the way. You see that a lot too, right? So,
oh, yeah. No,
get off that soapbox. I apologize.
No, you're good. It's amazing information and definitely valuable to the audience. Kind of wrapping things up here. The last thing we like to talk about in the entrepreneur process is distribution. So for beer, that's taking the beer to market and selling it. So obviously, you've talked about some really cool things that you guys have going on. What is next for James and the future?
So what's next for me is taking this for this company right here, is taking this company to that next level, which is standardizing this for the nationwide growth. You know, so we turned on nationwide operations just last year. Not to get too excited. All that really means is we're working in 6 different states with maybe a small city over here, a small city over there, right? But it's creating a partnership model through consulting firms that already have market share, and then providing them with a standardized, known, liked, and trusted process that they can just basically rebrand and give off to their client. Because at the end of the day, like, you have to recognize that what you're really doing for your business. For us, pavement management is low-hanging fruit for capital improvement projects and CIP planning and long-term planning and stuff like that. That's where engineering does come into play at high ticket, high dollar, but you have to have a standardized objective platform and data to kind of get you there. Right. So that's kind of what's next for us. That's how we will scale the company. I've already got 3 pilot projects going on in 3 different parts of the country with those types of individuals, because guess what? These A&E firms already have 50 locations, 100 locations, nationwide. I talked with one actually yesterday. They've got market share in New Zealand and South Africa. You know what I mean? So it's like, because I did the hard way, man. I did this shit the hard way. I developed this to an ASTM standard, which took a while. I could have just did the James index where I look at a row and go, hey, that one's good. AI, this one's good. This one's bad. This one sucks. Like, that's easy. I did it the hard way, man. So this allows us to go play on a global platform if we want to, but we got to start regionally and then nationally. So that's really what's next for me. But I'm actually working with a different type of technology, again, playing chess. So what we're doing with artificial intelligence is cool. I'm already talking with someone on the LiDAR component, which is basically 3D modeling of anything that the LiDAR passes. LiDAR has come down tremendously in packaging size and sensor and cost, and it's already in your phone, just not for asset management level yet, but that means it will get there. So I kind of see this whole thing just going with your iPhone. Put this damn thing in the dashboard and just hit go. And then James's technology and shit will just kind of do the rest. That's the plan. We'll see where I go, right?
That's exciting, man. No,
that's the fun
awesome
stuff, man. The flip side of that is I just created an LLC called Goalden Ventures. I feel like that's going to be my business holding company for all the other things I've got to do. I've got an exit strategy here. I'm getting close to that. I know what I need to do from a revenue perspective, and I know what my multiple probably looks like, and I already know who I need to go talk to about getting this stuff done. I do my homework. So that's in my pipeline, man. So it's like, well, what's next for me? I'll probably still consult and be that pavement management activist and stuff like that, but they're not paying James to go speak at APWA conventions. I just do that out of the kindness of my heart. Obviously you do it, become the known, liked, and trusted character in your market.
Absolutely.
But that's the back end of this stuff, man. I'd like to go help other business owners, similar to what you're doing with your podcasting and things like that, and develop my own platform. And I think that's coming in the near future.
That's awesome, man. No, I have no doubt that you have a lot of exciting things going on. It sounds like you obviously have a plan in place in order to get there too. So that's really cool. Any last pieces of advice before we hop off here today for the audience?
Man, opportunity is always knocking, especially the golden opportunities. Be open-minded, take that connection call that, maybe you didn't think was going to come into anything. You know what I mean? Find time in that calendar, obviously time block, but find time in your time blocking in your calendar to make connections and go connect with other people. Adam and I are a great example of that. I mean, I met Adam 2 years ago, 2020, right before this damn pandemic situation happened, but he was just a face in the room just like I was. At some point you got to go shake a hand, man. You can't be scared to do those things, because you never know when that one conversation will have so much of an impact. It's going to lead you to the next thing, so there's a couple pieces of advice right there, man. I mean, there's so many people that are introverted that are business owners, and that's hard. If you actually leave me up to my own devices, I'm going to sit on my couch all day. I'm not going to come out of it. I'm just going to go watch whatever I need on Netflix and never come out of my room.
Yep.
But it's like, once I come out of that in the environment, to flip the switch, man, go be that guy, go add value. I think the final thing I'd probably leave everybody with is something that really resonates with me. And that's your network is your net worth. It just piggybacks off of that. But you have to add value. You have to make deposits into that network. You can't just expect to walk around or linger around and expect returns.
Yeah, that's a very, very powerful way to end, and definitely appreciate you leaving that advice with the audience. But James, thanks very much for coming on today. We'll put everything in the show notes, but can you let people know where they can find you on social media, websites, etc.?
Man, the easiest thing is just go to jamesgoalden.me, Goldn. You find links. It's like a PR page for me, man. If you want to connect with me, you've got my phone number on there. Like, I'm that guy. You know, my phone number's on there. My email address is podcasts just like this that I've appeared on. My own podcast that's kind of up and running right now. My Instagram page, obviously, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, you go to LinkedIn. That's kind of where I built my machine. I know Adam knows what that means. I didn't really do it on Facebook because public works directors, city engineers, they're hiding on Facebook, man. They don't want the public saying, fix my road. You know, so the professional network for LinkedIn, I do very well over there, you know, so you can kind of follow what Pavement Management Group's up to on that side of the house and just connect with many other platforms and see what I'm all about, man. I just like to have fun and do my thing and add value to my network.
Man, I certainly appreciate that. We'll put that all in the show notes. But thanks again for coming on today, man. Really appreciate it, and look forward to connecting with you here soon.
Yeah, it's been a blast, man. I appreciate you all, and thanks to your audience members out there, man, paying attention out there. Keep following Adam, man. This man is on the rise. I love everything that he's doing.
I appreciate that, man. And to all of our guests, I want to thank you again today for tuning into the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. And thank you again to HalfCo Studios. If you're here in St. Louis and looking to grow your podcast or start one, then you seriously need to come check out all that they have going on here. We'll see you all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney.